We are going to start a new book today. We're going to start the book Frindle. So everyone in my class should have the book Frindle. If you are not in my class, that is a-okay because you can listen, or you can see if you can somehow download the book Frindle, or maybe you have it in your own private library. So if you don't have it, that's okay. Sometimes it's just nice to even just listen to a book being read aloud to you, because you can listen to it and you can see there might be something. Listening comprehension is great too. You might find some interesting details that I might not get if I was just reading it to myself. So I want you to think right now, just hearing the word Frindle. Have you ever heard that word before? Frindle. It sounds like a word I know. Okay, I'm going to let you think about that. As we go along, I want you to see if they use the word Frindle. Today we're only going to be reading chapter 1. And the reason that we're only going to read chapter 1 is because sometimes whenever I listen to a read aloud, if I do like a read aloud and I listen to like someone has like several chapters going on and I get lost, and then it's hard for me to go back and figure out where I'm at again. So I'm only going to do chapter at a time. That doesn't mean I may go ahead and do another chapter tonight. I haven't decided. It just kind of depends on how my day goes. So for sure today I'm going to do chapter 1. Maybe later I'll do chapter 2. But for sure right now I'm just going to do chapter 1. So let's get started. Frindle is by Andrew Clements. So I'm just going to read the back and see what he has to say. Is Nick Allen a troublemaker? He really just likes to liven things up at school, and he's always had plenty of great ideas. But it looks like Nick's days of classroom shenanigans are over, thanks to his nonsense teacher, Mrs. Granger. That's it, until Nick learns an interesting tidbit about how words are created. This inspires his greatest plan yet, to invent a word. Okay, let's get started. Chapter 1. Nick. If you ask the kids and the teachers at Lincoln Elementary School to make 3 lists, all the really bad kids, all the really smart kids, and all the really good kids, Nick Allen would not be on any of them. Nick deserved a list all of his own, and everyone knew it. Was Nick a troublemaker? Hard to say. One thing's for sure, Nick Allen had plenty of ideas, and he knew what to do with them. One time in 3rd grade, oh no, I hope my 3rd graders don't get too many ideas. One time in 3rd grade, Nick decided to turn Miss Deaver's room into a tropical island. What kid in New Hampshire? I want you to see where New Hampshire is. If you can, in the comments below, I want you to show me on a map, in a picture, show me where New Hampshire is. What kid in New Hampshire isn't ready for a little summer in February? So first, he got everyone to make small palm trees out of green and brown construction paper and tape them onto the corner of the corner of each desk. Miss Deaver had only been a teacher for about 6 months. Oh, bless her heart. And she was delighted. That's so cute. The next day, all the girls wore paper flowers in their hair, and all the boys wore sunglasses and beach hats. Miss Deaver clapped her hands and said, "It's so colorful." The day after that, Nick turned the classroom's thermostat up to about 90 degrees. With a little screwdriver, he had brought from home. All the kids changed into shorts and t-shirts with no shoes. And when Miss Deaver left the room for a minute, Nick spread about 10 cups of fine white sand all over the classroom floor. Miss Deaver was surprised again at just how creative her students could be. Think about that. Do you think that they were super creative, or was he getting to be a little mischievous? But the sand got tracked out into the hallway when Manny, the custodian, did not think it was creative at all. He stomped right down to the office. The principal followed the trail of the sand. When she arrived, Miss Deaver was teaching the hula to some kids near the front of the room, and a tall, thin, shirtless boy with a chestnut hair was just spiking a Nerf volleyball over a net made from 6 t-shirts tied together. Oh no. Think about, what do you think if our principal would come, and what do you think she would do? All these kids are shirtless playing volleyball. The 3rd grade trip to the South Seas ended suddenly. They are mischievous, aren't they, Owen? But that didn't stop Nick from trying to liven things up. Lincoln Elementary needed a good jolt once in a while, and Nick was just the guy to deliver it. About a year later, Nick made the great blackbird discovery. One night, he learned on a TV show that red-winged blackbirds give this high-pitched chirp when a hawk or some other danger comes near, because of the way sounds travel. And the hunter birds can't tell where the high-pitched chirp is coming. Chirp is coming from. The next day, during silent reading, Nick glanced at his teacher and he noticed that Mrs. Avery's nose was curved. I think she would too, actually. And then she eventually would tell us to stop, right? Avery's nose was curved and kind of like the beak of a hawk. So Nick let out a high, squeaky, blackbird peep. He's talking about his teacher. Mrs. Avery jerked her head up from her book and looked around. She couldn't tell who did it, and she just said, "Shh," to the whole class. A minute later, Nick did it again, louder. Peep! This time, there was a little giggling from the class, but Mrs. Avery pretended not to hear the sound, and about 15 seconds later, she slowly stood up and walked to the back of the classroom. Uh-oh. Without taking her eyes off of his book, without moving at all, Nick put his heart and soul into the highest and most annoying chirp of all. Beep! Mrs. Avery pounced. Janet Fisk, you stop that this instant. Janet, who was sitting 4 rows away from Nick, promptly turned white and then bright crimson. What color is crimson? It's actually about the color of my shirt. But it wasn't me, honest. There was a catch in Janet's voice, as if she might cry. But someone is asking for is big trouble, said Mrs. Avery, looking more like a hawk every second. Here in Missouri, we know what a hawk looks like. Think about that for a second. What does Mrs. Avery look like? Nick kept reading, and he didn't make a peep. At lunchtime, Nick talked to Janet. He felt bad that Mrs. Avery had pounced on her. Janet lived in Nick's neighborhood, and sometimes they played together. She was good at baseball, and she was better at soccer than most of the kids in the whole school. Boys or girls, Nick said. Boys or girls. Nick said, "Hey Janet, I'm sorry you got yelled at during reading. It was my fault. I was the one who made the sound." "You did?" said Janet. "But how come Mrs. Avery thought it was me?" So Nick told her about the blackbirds, and Janet thought it was pretty interesting. Then she tried making a peep or two, and Janet's chirps were even higher and squeakier than Nick's. She promised to keep everything a secret. For the rest of Nick's 4th grade year, at least once a week, Mrs. Avery heard a loud peep from somewhere in her classroom. Sometimes it was a high-pitched chirp, and sometimes it was a very high-pitched chirp. I wonder, who else do you think was doing that chirping? Was it all Nick? Was he the only mischievous one? Mrs. Avery never figured out who was making that sound, and gradually she trained herself to ignore it, but she still looked like a hawk. To Nick, the whole thing was just one long, unsuccessful science experiment, and Janet Fisk enjoyed it too. That is all of chapter 1. We will do chapter 2 next time. So what I want you to do, I want you to think about what a hawk looks like. That's your first thing. And our second thing, you needed to figure out New Jersey, right? Or nope, where was that? Not New Jersey, New Hampshire. I want you to figure out where New Hampshire is. I want you to take a picture of New Hampshire, and I want you to put it in the comments below. But not only that, I want you to figure out what the climate might be like compared to what our climate is. Okay? I miss you guys dearly. I hope you're having a wonderful break, but I miss you. I hope to see you very, very soon. I'll see you later. Until next time.